This morning, a mother dead, her son under arrest. Another case of family violence as a grieving family demands better. Millions of Australians to benefit from a boost to the minimum wage. How much it's worth? Power almost restored. Bunbury left to clean up again after a severe storm. Was it another tornado? And out for 2 games, fans urge the Eagles to challenge Harley Reid's ban.
This is 7 Morning News, live from Perth, with Tina Altieri.
Good morning, and sadly we begin this bulletin with news of yet another murder linked to family violence, this time in Perth's southeast. A woman has been found dead in Byford, and 7 News can confirm her son is now in custody being questioned. Nick Overall has the details.
Police were called to the home here on Gallipoli Avenue just after 7 last night, where they found the 61-year-old woman dead. One neighbour who has spoken to 7 News says the victim had fled from another home nearby and was trying to seek shelter. The owners of the property here, though, were out at the time. Police say the victim's 33-year-old son left the scene in a silver Peugeot station wagon. Around 9 o'clock, the car was seen on the Great Northern Highway north of Bindoon. Police say the man led them on a chase before he was finally stopped in Bindi Bindi after officers deployed spike trips. The man then became aggressive before police tasered him. He was arrested shortly after. Today, neighbours here in Byford have expressed their shock at this tragic event.
Well, sheer shock really, come around the corner and see cop cars everywhere and just find out that it happened on your street. So, it's a little bit strange to come home to.
It seems this is yet another case of domestic violence. We'll have all the latest details in the news at 6.
Nick Overall reporting there, and the double murder-suicide in Florida has certainly cast a new spotlight on domestic violence here in WA. And now the brother of Jennifer Patelchik and uncle of Greta has spoken for the first time. He's told ABC police missed opportunities to save them.
I know for a fact I'm a firearm owner. Any policeman has, under the Act, has the right to think if something's not quite kosher, they can remove those firearms from that person.
Killer Mark Bombara had 13 licensed firearms. The state government yesterday announced plans for new laws making it mandatory for police to seize guns if there's a formal family violence complaint. And a reminder that the National Domestic Violence Helpline is a free call, 1800 RESPECT. That's 1800 737 732. But if you're in immediate danger, always call 000. More than 2 million low-income households are set to benefit from a major boost to the national minimum wage. The Fair Work Commission has this morning revealed its decision that's less than unions were demanding, but above inflation.
Well, the decision is to lift the minimum wage by 3.75%, so above the rate of inflation. The Fair Work Commission met early this morning to hand down that decision, mostly affecting people on minimum wage, but also people getting support payments like single parents and people with a disability. The increase will be applied to the current pay rate of $23.50 an hour. That's the minimum wage. Unions wanted 5%, the industry wanted 2%, saying it would relieve pressures on businesses.
In determining this level of increase, a primary consideration has been the cost of living pressures that modern award-reliant employees, particularly those who are low paid and live in low-income households, continue to experience.
This is all about making sure people keep up with the cost of living, but a little bit more because they need to catch up.
But the government submitted wages can't go backwards and have to at least be in line with inflation. It is a delicate balancing act. The government currently trying to drive down the rate of inflation in line with the RBA's target range, but that wage increase will come into effect on July 1.
The clean-up from wild weather that hit the southwest is expected to take months. A severe storm sparked lightning and rain in Perth, but Bunbury bore the brunt of what authorities say might have been another tornado.
Well, it was just like a tornado, big bang. of an atomic bomb go off.
If it is, then and it's hit Bunbury for the second time in a couple of weeks, that would be unusual, but it's hard. It's been very exceptionally difficult to draw a trend off that, particularly in the short term. It would be most likely in unfortunate circumstances that coincidentally hit the same town in the same month.
3 people suffered minor injuries after being hit by debris at the Parade Hotel and a local caravan park. About 1,400 properties are still waiting for power to be restored. Police have just confirmed a body found in the rubble of an exploded house in Sydney is missing woman Jasmine May. It follows a day-and-a-half-long search by fire and rescue crews.
Good morning. A floral shrine is beginning to grow here at the scene of this devastating townhouse explosion after the community's worst fears were confirmed around 3:20 this morning when rescuers located the body of Jasmine May following a tireless search spanning more than 36 hours. The 30-year-old had been visiting her mother's home on Saturday when the residential block blew up due to a suspected gas leak. The impact of the explosion could be felt up to 40 kilometres away, with multiple units decimated. While most residents made it out with just minor injuries, Jasmine became trapped beneath the rubble, triggering a large search and rescue operation when she didn't show up for her shift at a Wetherill Park restaurant. Crews have left no stone unturned here, methodically sifting through the ruins of the Department of Housing building over the weekend, with police sniffer dogs deployed and a crane brought in to lift cement slabs. Rescuers initially held hope they would find the 30-year-old alive after hearing tapping sounds following the explosion, but sadly those sounds were short-lived. Her body found under debris in the early hours of this morning.
Somebody's lost their life, and we'll make sure that we prepare the best possible brief that we can for the coroner to make a decision around the cause of death.
Questions now remain over how this happened. Residents had reportedly raised concerns about the smell of gas. The Department of Housing confirming in the last 12 months there had been 2 complaints from the complex, but the department says in both cases contractors were sent out and the issues were resolved.
Just catastrophic, like for her family. I know her family, and they're all lovely people, so I can't even fathom what's going through their heads.
Police have seized bags of evidence this morning and forensic officers remain on scene, sifting through the rubble.
The White House is piling pressure onto Israel's Prime Minister to back a new ceasefire plan for Gaza. US President Joe Biden announced the deal 2 days ago, but so far neither Israel nor Hamas has given it full backing. Here's US correspondent Tim Lester.
It's been 2 days since President Biden put a rocket of sorts under ceasefire negotiations in Gaza. The president announced a broad peace plan. Now, with many questioning whether Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu will accept the plan, the White House has stepped in to say, of course he will. It's his plan.
This was an Israeli proposal. We have every expectation that if Hamas agrees to the proposal, as was transmitted to them, an Israeli proposal, that Israel would say yes.
The 3-phase deal would see an early release of some of the estimated 125 hostages still held in Gaza. Protesters gathered outside Netanyahu's Jerusalem office to demand he back the new plan. But far-right elements in the Prime Minister's coalition say they'll bring down the government before a ceasefire stops Israel's troops killing the last Hamas militants. Today, the Biden administration acknowledged Hamas is not yet destroyed, but
militarily speaking, Hamas is in no position to conduct another attack like October 7th.
A spokesman for Prime Minister Netanyahu now says while the Biden deal is not a good one, Israel did agree to it because it wants the hostages released.
A trio of thieves has evaded Queensland police, but their robbery attempt wasn't exactly a success. Security video shows them breaking into a warehouse in Brisbane with a plan to steal luxury cars. But they found a 12-ton armoured personnel carrier in their way. They made a number of attempts to find the keys and move it, but eventually gave up and fled. Next in 7's Morning News, Qantas shake-up, the new boarding process that will change how we fly. Plus, reaching the far side of the moon, China makes space history. And big catch, a safe full of cash found in a New York lake.
We were repeatedly ignored.
One of the most harrowing interviews I've seen in my 4 decades delivering the news to Perth.
7 News goes further.
Common sense suggests there's danger.
To bring you the truth behind the stories that affect us all.
There should be enough water.
7 News at 6.
Welcome back. Perth appears to be in the grip of the expected winter peak of RSV, but authorities say WA's new free immunisation is better protecting young children. There's been 446 hospitalisations so far this year, more than last year, but much less than interstate. More than 9,000 babies and toddlers have now been immunised. Qantas is introducing a new system in Brisbane this morning to speed up the boarding process and getting off planes quicker. It's believed to be an Australian first, as Georgia Costi reports.
Well, we all know boarding a plane can be a little bit of a painful experience. It takes a long time, people push in front of you. Then, of course, you have to squeeze past them to get to your row in the plane. And then they might even steal your overhead luggage space. But today, starting here at Brisbane Airport, Qantas is beginning group boarding. What this means is instead of boarding the plane in order of rows or cabins, passengers will be split up in groups 1 to 6 based on where they're sitting. And then they'll be asked to board in those groups. If you try and sneak into a different group and skip the queue, you will be stopped at the gate. Qantas says that ultimately this should be getting passengers on the plane quicker, which means those planes can then take off on time. This is a system that is used overseas, but it's the first time we're seeing it domestically here in Australia. And recently Qantas did lose its top title as our most punctual domestic airline. It's hoping it can get back to #1 spot with this new initiative.
Parachutists have jumped from World War II era planes over Normandy to mark the 80th anniversary of D-Day. It's the first in a series of events being held to commemorate the Allied landing, as Hugh Whitfield reports.
A remarkable active tribute, a recreation in the skies over northern France. 2 of the 3 C-47 transporters they used actually flew on D-Day, and they were using the same style of parachute too. The civilian parachutists landing on fields across the Normandy coast, just as thousands of Allied paratroopers did on June 6, 1944.
When you hook up, it's the same cable that they used 80 years ago, and it's the same doorway, and it's the same countryside from 80 years ago, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so thankful I'm not doing this at midnight. That's the big thing that was going through my mind, is that I didn't have to do it in the middle of the night and people weren't shooting at me.
The young men who jumped in the early hours of D-Day did so into a blaze of Nazi gunfire. That operation in the darkness helped to kickstart the Normandy landings, 160,000 Allied personnel in the most monumental operation of World War II that ultimately led to the defeat of Nazi Germany. Later this week, the King, the Queen, the US President and Australia's Governor-General will be among the thousands who will be on the beaches at Normandy to commemorate D-Day.
A 27-year-old man has been killed and dozens more injured in a mass shooting at a street party in Ohio. A gunman opened fire shortly after midnight. Officers discovered a weapon and dozens of bullet casings at the scene. The victims, some seriously injured, were rushed to hospital. China has landed an unmanned spacecraft on the far side of the moon. The mission aims to collect rock and soil samples from that region for the first time in history. The landing was fraught with risks because of the difficulty communicating with a spacecraft once they reached their destination. The probe will aim to extract rock from a huge crater on the moon's south pole. Two American anglers have made an incredible discovery pulling a safe from the bottom of a New York lake. Inside was $100,000 in cash.
Once I seen the actual dollars and
the little ribbon, the security ribbons,
it says like 100, and the security ribbons, I was like, oh, I lost it.
These are very, very thick stacks.
With no way to identify the owner of the safe, which was likely stolen, the anglers have been told they can now keep their once-in-a-lifetime find. Stay with us here on 7 Sport is coming up right after the break, including the verdict on Harley Reid's sling tackle that's divided footy fans. And it was within reach, but Perth's Minjee Lee misses her shot at another US Open. Well, West Coast will be weighing up whether to appeal Harley Reid's 2-match ban for a sling tackle on Darcy Wilson. If it sticks, it means he's ineligible to win the Rising Star Award he was favourite for. Bulldogs young gun Sam Darcy also ruled out for this bump.
It's a tackle gone wrong. We want to get the sling tackle out of the game, but it is a football act, and I think those sort of football acts a little bit gone wrong shouldn't cost either of those guys the Rising Star.
The Eagles take on North Melbourne before a bye. That means Reid wouldn't play again until next month. Well, the Dockers moved into the top 6 after yesterday's thrashing of the Demons by 92 points. It was Melbourne's worst loss under Simon Goodwin in 8 years and came off the boots of 12 different Freo goal kickers, including this one from Caleb Sarong.
His first goal of the season is something special.
And the Suns held off Essendon 91-80 to move into the top 8. Well, from a 2-shot lead in the final round of the US Women's Open, hopes of a third major fell apart badly for Perth golf superstar Minjee Lee.
It's just going to go in the water.
Wow, that was a poor strike.
Minjee dropped 7 shots in 7 holes to finish with an 8 over 78. 7 shots behind her great friend and now 2-time champion Yuka Sasso. Well, more than 80,000 fans will pack into a sold-out Accor Stadium in Sydney tonight to send the Matildas off to the Paris Olympics. After Friday's 1-1 draw with China, the Matildas are intent on leaving with a win and honouring retiring goalkeeping legend Lydia Williams.
There's also a lot of emotions. It's emotions about selections, but also emotions about honouring a legend of the game.
It's definitely going to be really emotional, but I've always been for the team and for the girls, and I'm just really excited to share, one more final moment with them.
Coach Tony Gustafsson won't risk Caitlin Ford's tight hamstring. Jen Gregson will become the 6th Aussie woman to compete in athletics at 4 Olympics when she makes her marathon debut in Paris. After snapping her Achilles in Tokyo, the former steeplechaser took time out to become a mum while setting her sights on the marathon. 47-year-old Sinead Diver is excited to bring her 2 children along for the ride.
It's really special because at Tokyo, unfortunately, they couldn't come with me because of COVID. So this is the first games where they'll be able to come and be part of the experience.
Com Games gold medalist Jess Stenson had her 2nd child less than a year ago. Carlos Alcaraz is hungry to become the next dominant Spaniard at the French Open. The world number 3 cruised past his round of 16 opponent, Felix Auger-Aliassime, in straight sets. He'll face Stefanos Tsitsipas in the quarters, who took care of Italian Matteo Arnaldi in 4 sets. Women's world number 1, Iga Swiatek, needed just 40 minutes to eliminate Anastasia Popotov, 6-love,
Another
6-love.
quick hold for Swiatek, not hanging about here.
3rd seed Coco Gauff breezed past Elizabeth Cocciocella in straight sets. I'll have all of your weather details next on 7's Morning News. See you right after the break in less than 3 minutes.
Subscribe with Google to The West Australian and never miss a headline. It's simple and secure. 2 taps and you're all set. Explore a world of quality news and journalism from the West. Seamless access, full control, easy to manage. Subscribe with Google.
Checking your weather details now. It's currently 20 degrees in our city. Looking at the forecast for the suburbs, a medium chance of showers, 22 degrees expected in Joondalup, 21 along the coast in Scarborough and down to Mandurah, and just 20 in Armidale. Partly cloudy with morning fog tomorrow as the rain is likely to ease, 22 degrees expected. Sunny and 22 on Wednesday. Thursday, 23 degrees, but the showers are likely to return in the afternoon. And that's Perth's morning news for this WA day. Thank you so much for your company. Enjoy the rest of your day here on 7.